today we are talking about part 3 of Waking Up. I have James here and I have Nigel here. Hi guys.
Hi. Hi everyone.
Hi, good to be back again.
Yes, James.
Yep.
Yes, Nigel. So, waking up. Actually, the truth always hurts, but it's better to know the truth than the lies. You might not like the truth, but it's better to know more of the truth than the lies. That's the way I see it. Even if you don't like the truth.
It's like I've sort of said before, the analogy of being plunged into that ice cold Atlantic after sort of jumping off the Titanic, and you're now in a very uncomfortable place of realizing that the reality that you've been told is real starts to fall apart, and it's like something doesn't add up with all of this. A lot of people will recoil in horror and go back in their comfort zone and don't want to face it. But, I'd rather know, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Certainly learned a lot along the way, and still learn.
Yeah, I agree. What is the point of not knowing? The point of not knowing is living in la la land, essentially. It's no matter how uncomfortable it is, surely it's got to be better to know than not know. What do you think, Karen?
I was going to say, it basically comes down to the question that everybody, I think, at one time or another thinks of is, who are we, what's our purpose here, where have we come from, and where are we going? And it's all trying to answer that. I remember right early on, it's like, I can't put my finger on it, but something doesn't feel right about anything. But without having any, as a child, when you don't have any experience of life, certainly haven't got any knowledge, whether it be true knowledge or fake knowledge. There's nothing you can draw on to say as a child what is wrong. You're incapable of expressing it. It's only when you get older and you start thinking, oh dear, and it just opens up one doorway to another, and then it comes the realization that pretty much everything that we're outside of us is a lie.
Yeah, but I think when we're kids, we know everything's a lie, but we don't know how to express it. Language is limited when we're 5 or 6 years old, but we kind of inherently know that everything is BS. But because of our language ability or our language skills, we're not able to express what we think or what we believe in ways that adults can understand it.
There's some very odd things. It's like, why is there only 26 letters? Why have we got a decimal numbering system? That alone, the sort of questions and stuff I remember pondering without actually asking, because you normally just get told off for not sticking to the curriculum if you start asking too many questions. And it's like, well, aren't we supposed to be asking questions to learn? So that's the first flag I think that comes up.
Yeah, but from my perspective as an English teacher, the only way that I can teach somebody something is if they want to learn. Now, you know, the want of sounding like a complete idiot, You know, I will ask my students, what's my job? Oh, you're a teacher. No, no. My job is not to teach you. My job is to help you learn. You know, if I say to you, James, can you swim? And you say no, and I go, well, come on, mate, I'll teach you to swim. Yeah, but Nigel, I don't want to learn to swim. Oh, come on, James, I'll teach you to swim. But Nigel, I don't want to learn to swim. So how can I teach you to swim if you don't want to learn how to swim? If you say to me, hey, dude, yeah, you know, I can't swim, but I really want to learn, then, okay, come on, I'll teach you and you'll learn. And it's the same in the classroom. You can't teach somebody, you can't teach a student something that they don't want to learn. So, you know, a teacher goes into a classroom in order to teach. No, that teacher goes into a classroom in order to help students learn what they want to learn. And the whole thing is mixed up. The whole thing is upside down.
Nigel, when you wake up, you want to learn. When you're asleep, you don't want to learn. When you wake up, you want to learn, and you're learning things that you didn't think you'd learn before.
Yeah, Karen, you are so spot on. Because once you wake up, you want to learn everything, and you want it all now. And this goes back to something that I heard today. Now, again, maybe I'm repeating this, but, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I'm aware of certain scriptures, I'm aware of certain parables, I'm aware of certain verses from the Bible, and they mean nothing. They mean nothing when you are, quote unquote, asleep. But once you become awakened, once you become enlightened, you understand what those scriptures mean, but then they also don't mean anything because you already know what they mean. If that makes, let me give you an example. Once you become awakened and once you become aware as to what God, the biblical God, is not, once you become to once you get to the realization that God is source, and then you look at the parable or the quote in the Bible, "Know ye not ye are gods," which is a question. When you're asleep, you haven't got a clue what that means. Know ye not ye are gods. Well, what does that mean? Once you become awake, once you become enlightened, you understand what that phrase means, but you no longer need it because you know that you are, quote unquote, gods. You were created in the image of the Elohim in Genesis 1:27. So you understand what it means, but then you no longer need it, if that makes sense. And when I heard that today, I just went, wow, that is so powerful. When you're asleep and you read it, you don't know what it means. When you're awake and you read it, you know what it means, but you don't need it anymore because you understand, you know, inherently know.
How many times do you read something and then go and read it again and see something else, or read different things that you didn't read before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, you can see that so many times over. And this is where James comes in. I mean, the stuff that James reads out when he starts talking about words and what they mean and how they're pronounced. And so living in China, when I hear somebody pronounce a particular word, it's quite funny because the English word that nobody in China can pronounce is usually. It's always usually. No, and I just have a laugh and a joke, and I teach the kids, and I get them all to say usually, and they can't say it. And that's why when I heard somebody say the biblical Jesus name, Yeshua, that suddenly it hit me. And, you know, we've spoken about this on many podcasts. What we're doing now is what the biblical Jesus was doing back in the day. And the letter J did not come into the English language until 1524. It was a H prior to that. So Jesus, he's us, he's us. So you have this whole army of people, he's us, going out looking for the hybrids, the people that have got the spark of divinity, and we're trying to wake them up.
Okay,
So,
what does James think about it then? James?
Well, I think what's been shown, Greg Braden talks about it in a expo from this year. The heart has cell structure, and it's the same as the brain. That the heart actually has a separate brain within itself. That's saying about getting to the heart of the matter. It all seems to tie in. To say very, very quickly, I mean, if you were to ask a child who had never seen the word written before, and you said the River Thames, they would most likely spell it T-E-M-S, I would have thought. Now, I've heard Americans pronounce it as Thames. Well, considering banking and everything being on water, and the City of London being like the centre of the world banking, well, you've got watery themes, the River Thames going on there.
Can I just say one thing? Nigel, your microphone on my phone, I don't know if it's on the computer because obviously I've got that turned down. It's blanking James out when you're not talking. Everybody mute when they're not talking. It's better. That's it. Go on, James.
Yeah, just going back to like with the biblical story. If you read it as a literal historical story and at face value, so you could say with the whole Garden of Eden thing, it's the serpent who's actually telling the truth, because in that story, the way it's presented, it's the serpent says, "You will not die if you eat the apple," which is true of the way that story runs, and then it implies that God is an absolute psychopath, because it's, well, we've given humanity free will, but now you don't like the way it's going, so you flood and wipe everything out. That's mass murder. So if reading it in a literal way is just causes confusion, but the thing to remember is just look at the Masonic compasses, the symbol. They're also known as dividers. When you sort of come to realization that the religious God and the atheist is all coming from the same source, because the whole pattern of the perceived evil follows the same pattern, as I've called it, the tree of death, the tree of life. It's like cells, one splits into two. So now you've got religion and atheism. Now we split the religions into subsections, and you see this repeat pattern with everything, different languages, different nations, battle of the sexes, red party, blue party. It's divide, divide, divide is the theme all the way through with everything.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But then you've got to get to the point where somebody says, okay, so what you're saying is that what you're doing now, in other words, we're trying to wake people up, is what the biblical Jesus person was doing back in the day. So are you saying that you are the same as the biblical Jesus? And the answer is, yes, you are. Yeshua. Yes, you are. Yeshua. And, you know, as James is so awesome at pointing out when he breaks down words and so on and so forth, the biblical Jesus' name was Yeshua, which is yes, you are. Yeshua. And then, you know, you could listen to somebody speaking the English words yes you are in Arabic or Egyptian or Spanish or German or French or whatever dialect, whatever language you want to, you know, throw at them, then the yes you are at some point is going to come out as Yeshua. Yes you are.
James? Let James answer that one. You can't just, we have to take turns and stuff. We have to answer each other. James, what do you think of that then, as it's your words? Well, Yeshua is.
I was quite surprised to see it written down, but in Mexican, it's Jesus is quite a common name, but it's written, as it's written, it looks like Jesus. So you've got a reference to Zeus in there as well. And Zeus obviously is an anagram of Suez, as in the canal. It's very muddled up.
So this is all about helping ourselves, is it? This, by the way, guys, just asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about helping ourselves, but it's all about looking at the hidden meanings. It's all about looking at the hidden translations, the hidden sounds. I mean, you can go back to ancient Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Korean, where they were using pictographs. I mean, like, I can't read Chinese. There are a few. They're called Hanzi. They're called, you know, they're hieroglyphs. But basically what you're doing is you're drawing a picture. And that might be a picture of a man, a picture of a woman, a picture of a farm or whatever. And how is that going to be pronounced? How will that hieroglyph be pronounced in Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, or, you know, whatever? So if there's not a common language when it comes to hieroglyphs,
Can I say something?
then
I thought helping yourself would be knowing who you were as a person to begin with. Because if you don't know who you are, you're never going to learn anything or know anything or believe anything. It's all going to be, I don't know. You've got to know yourself. That's helping yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. But if I drew a picture of a man digging a hole, and I asked you to give it a name, and James asked me to give it a name, and I asked James to give it a name, if they were three different names for the same picture, where does the actual language come from? It has to be agreed upon.
Yeah, but you've got to find it in yourself first.
Yeah.
This waking up all comes from yourself. If you don't wake up, if you don't know yourself, nothing is ever going to happen.
Yeah, totally agree. When you look at English, and you know, you've got the letter A, B, B, C, K, D, D, etc., all the way through to Z, you have this agreed pronunciation. But when you're looking at a picture, when you're looking at a hieroglyph, how is that hieroglyph going to be spoken? How is it going to be put into words? How is it going to be pronounced? And in
that's
Chinese,
one thing you've noticed, Nigel, is that with etymology, we don't know what we're saying half the time. That the words are spells, and we don't know what we're saying.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. But I think it's actually more difficult when you're looking at hieroglyphs, which is what the Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Korean languages are. They're pictures. So a picture that turns up in China could be spoken as one particular way, but in Korean could be spoken as a completely different way. Japanese could be spoken differently, and so on and so forth, because you've simply got a picture. So when it comes to names, well, how is that name spoken? You know.
What does James think then? James? What's your take on all this then? Because I think you have to know who you are as a person when you're going to wake up.
Well, I think a lot of it is it is very much about knowing yourself. So the first thing is to realise how the numbers are all encoded in the physical body. You've got 12 systems: the endocrine system, the respiratory system, and so on. You've got 12 zodiac signs encoded in the body. You've got 7 chakras. You've got the 12 entry points into the heart. It's almost like alluding to what is being shown in the Matrix in that. Then it's understanding the difference between who we are and what we think we are. I need to explain that. So the best way to do this is observe young children. The system programming comes in with when the parents are saying, you're not going out in the cold until you put a hat and a coat on. Because as a child, you're so engrossed in that playing that you're oblivious to what the senses are telling you. And then that sets up, that's part of the system programming that's set up. So we think we're our opinions and our ideas, but we are not these physical bodies. That is just the carrier of the spirit. This system has made it so we think we're just in this physical realm. Science has followed this in very much of if you can see it, it's real. If you can't see it, it isn't.
You know what another thing is, James? What it is there was another James. He lived in New Zealand and he had the 8 laws of anxiety. Now some of those videos are on Sun and Moon. I've still got some more that I can upload. They're quite deep and analytical, but basically what he's saying is that a lot of people think they're giving wisdom, but they're not. They're just giving people their anxiety. And obviously anxiety is a money-making thing. So that's what he came in on that point about anxiety. And there's 8 rules. It's how you see it, how they see it, how you see it together, and so forth. There's 8 of them. He's a very clever bloke, he was spot on, he was, because it's true. A lot of people think they're giving advice. They're not, they're just giving anxiety and don't realise it. So that's obviously those people not really knowing themselves. Everybody, you learn something and it goes into our subconscious and then we go, well, that's the answer. But we don't know whether it is or isn't because you've got to know it in yourself, haven't you?
Yes, it's a lot of the things that we carry and the way the system is sort of programmed us is to take everything personally. And even if you have something like anxiety or depression, it feels like you're the only one in the world that's got it, and you've got to keep it covered up because everybody's going to laugh at you. This is all this system programming, because when you actually start talking to people, you find there's thousands of people, if not millions, who've all experiencing ringing in the ears, the night sweats, having synchronized thoughts with other people.
Those though, James, those might be them doing things to us or doing things with 5G. Because a lot of people are saying it comes sort of about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning to about 6 o'clock in the morning. So those bits, the first few bits you said, they might be what they're doing. It's just the frequencies going in.
The saying of thieves by the night or something along those lines straight away comes to mind when you said that. That seems quite plausible that something would be done at night, but then I'm also of the mind of I've got to be careful what I say, because am I unknowingly spreading a fear of something that makes it real?
Can I just say, Nigel, when you're, it may not be on the computer, but when on the phone, when you're not, that's it, thank you, because it just buzzes. Just everybody keep their mics on until they're talking. It's the best thing. Anyway, carry on, James.
Yeah, it's often talked about in these truth channels about predictive programming. Well, what about if the whole Genesis story has then been brought into a physical manifestation? I mean, the words were said earlier, agreed upon. Well, it's a greedy mindset upon everything else. So it is quite literally agreed upon.
And I like the way that James does that and just reminds us what the words really come from and what they really mean and what you're really saying. Thanks, James.
It's just, remember that, I mean, it's peculiar with the English language compared to the other European languages. We don't have accents over certain letters to give us any indication how to say them. But if you sort of listen and say the words over in your mind, it's like Christopher Wren. If you say it, slow it down in your mind and say it several times over, you can start hearing Christ offering. Because I certainly don't believe the history they've given us about that huge structure.
Thanks, James. What were you going to say, Nigel? You're muted. Nigel?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. There is a collective word in Chinese which is xiao xin. Now, it kind of means like be careful, caution. So if you are, I don't know, you're walking under something that's just been constructed, where you might see caution or you might see be careful in English. In Chinese, you will see 小心, and 小 means small and xin means heart. So even though collectively 小心 means be careful, take care, caution, the actual translation of those two hieroglyphs means small and heart. 小 is small and 心 is heart. So how can, and I talk about this with Chinese people all the time, how can 小心, which really means small heart, how can that mean be careful or caution? And they just look at me and they laugh and they go, well, I don't know. But when you see those two characters together, 小心, it means be careful. It means caution. Yet at the same time, those two characters mean small and heart. So they've got nothing to do with being careful. They've got nothing to do with caution. They've got nothing to do with take care. They literally mean 小心, small heart. So it's not so much as what we translate the words into meaning, is what the words collectively together have a quote-unquote meaning to our psyche. But how on earth can 小心, small heart, mean be careful, caution, take care?
James, got any ideas on that, James?
Yeah, very commonly used English saying about having a big heart. So if you have a big heart and you're generous, then there's obviously people out there who will take advantage of that. So I would suggest that saying have a small heart is keeping it guarded against the potential of the ones that will think, there's an opportunity to exploit that person, their generosity. So that's the only logical sequence I can see with that.
Yeah. Okay, I can go along with that.
Maybe their language really came from symbols, and that's what happens when you put those together. So small heart means you don't trust it. So that's how they learn it. Oh, I don't trust it. Or be careful.
The way that Chinese characters come together is just, it's crazy. It really is crazy. It makes no sense. You know, I said on a previous podcast that shoji means phone, mobile phone, but shou means hand and ji means machine. So in the literal translation, shoji means hand machine.
Isn't that the life we live in? That's why you need to wake up. That's why you need to know who you are as a person.
Yeah. But shoji meaning hand machine, or translation meaning hand machine, but the meaning means mobile phone. So my question is, where is the connection?
Who we are as people, aren't we? We're talking about waking up. We're talking about, you know, you've done, like, we're hidden, we're waking up, now we're woken up.
But I guess my question is, where is the connection between hand machine and mobile phone? The meaning and the translation are completely different. They're totally different.
Yeah. We're doing it about waking up, aren't we? I thought that was what the topic was, waking up.
Yeah. We're talking about waking up, and there is just so much that we don't understand. There's so much stuff that we really, truly don't have a clue about. Even those of us who consider ourselves to be awake, we haven't got a clue. We've not got.
It's actually a very long journey. It takes a few good years, because there's waking up, and then a lot of the people waking up are into, you know, flat. So it brings up another section of things, and then you realise, education, medication, history, the whole thing, none of it adds up. And then you look into all these things, and you spend hours of your life doing it. You can only do that if you've woken up. If you haven't woken up, you won't be looking into things. You'll just be agreeing on it. You'll just be agreeing on everything everybody else says. Oh, well, you know, we're a ball floating through space, and NASA goes to the moon. That's what happens when you're asleep. Yeah,
but what I saw today and what I understood today was scriptures, which, you know, we've spoken about many times, mean nothing until you're awake, and once you're awake, they mean nothing. And it's so weird that when you're asleep, you read these scriptures, these biblical scriptures, and they don't mean anything to you because you don't understand them. And once you awaken, you understand them, so you don't need them because you understand them. And it's so weird, it's so profound, it's so crazy.
Whatever you have, you've got to find it. I know in the end, because in the end it's not where I am, right? I feel you had to find it in myself, know who I was as a person. Then you're whole enough that actually, you know, a lot of it's about love. And then you can give that love out to other people. I thought we'd be talking about that kind of side, not about symbols and things. I understand all that side's really important, but it's about when you wake up, it's different. Everything's different. You know, if you haven't woken up, you can't give anybody anything because you don't know. But when you do know, you've woken up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And everything is about love. Everything. I mean, you know, I've said this before many, many times. You can go to any church and you will see that God is love. Yeah, okay. Well, love is quote unquote God. And everything is about love. Everything is about unconditional love. And that's why this whole realm that we look at and we know that it's all BS and nothing is real, everything is fake apart from us, apart from people that we can resonate with, apart from people that we can connect with, apart from people that we can love. Everything else is fake. Everything. The only thing that is real in this quote unquote reality is love. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is important. It's all about love. Love is God. God is love. That's it. End of story.
James?
Well, this waking up, no matter what you throw a dart at, whatever topic, so whether it be Tataria, mud flood, flat earth, NASA, whatever it happens to be, they're all external and they're all going to give you one answer, that everything is a lie. So it comes down to that saying is, it's always the last place you think to look. And the thinking part is the critical part to this. I mean, there's a trinity to this. It's knowing ourselves. So to explain that, it's like if you hear a word, say like Jesus, and if you've been put off by religion, you're going to get triggered when you think, oh, I'm not listening to that. It's going past that and then saying to yourself, well, why? It's only a word. Why is it making me feel this way? Why am I allowing that feeling inside myself? Because these physical vessels have chemical changes going on with things like adrenaline and serotonin. So what's been put out on the media, which is the AI medium, is all negative with a little bit of obscure random good news chucked in every now and again just to keep people in confusion. It's to set up chemical changes in the body so you feel the fear and the negative aspects, because it does quite literally constrict your DNA. It affects your health, which is the whole purpose of it. But the other two parts of the Trinity, it's knowing what you would call your friends. So if somebody said to you, I can't face looking at that, I've looked at, say, 9/11 and it just sickens me. So what you don't want to do is then bring that subject up to them. You want to say, yeah, okay, I hear you. I understand why you feel that way, why it's making you bring up feelings in you, but you've obviously got to do the work to get those feelings under control, the mastery of the thoughts. But it's like, I'm aware that I won't talk about those subjects. They've covered it. They've got an understanding of it. Then there's also know thy enemy. Now, that it's pretty obvious that all they're doing is playing repeat scripts, where we have a huge advantage of, we have imagination and we have the ability to think in original ways, regardless. I mean, we could argue about whether it's God in us or if it's original thoughts, but that's irrelevant for this. It's just seeing the way the mindset of the evil side works. I mean, what they're showing now, the big topic is about the Jacksoniations. But remember that everything in the physical has a spiritual. So that's actually, it's the dark side's way of telling everybody they're trying to prick everybody's conscience. It's about spiritual awakening. It's just their way of showing it, because their nature and their role is to twist everything and give you a perverted, inverted thing. I mean, you talk in terms of Hollywood stars or people who've basically sold their soul for a fortune in the material wealth. We discuss it as selling out. Well, physically, you wouldn't want your cells on the outside of your body. You'd look awful for a start. But it's just listening carefully to those words. But it's really about all going inside yourself. It's finding what triggers you, digging down, thinking, that's somebody at school, go right back from primary school, that told me I was an idiot, and I've adopted those words and made it part of myself.
Yeah, I was talking to James, I was talking last night about this. I've got this book up there. It's called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And the thing is that there are 3 other stances that happen when you're little, maybe up to the age of 3. I'm not okay, you're okay. I'm not okay, you're not okay. And I'm okay, you're not okay. But you should be I'm okay, you're okay. And it always leads me back to this book about the stage. It's a house, and life's like a house. And nearly all of the people are in the basement, cold, dark, dingy down there. No one knows where they're going. Everybody's bumping into each other and no one knows how to get out. So the levels of the floors are how you work yourself out. But that's the thing, is that you learn these things when you're little. Your parent then treats you like your parents treat you. And a lot of us might not like our parents, but you don't realise you're parenting yourself the same way. You've got to learn to parent yourself differently. You've got to learn to look at your child and work out who your child was and what happened and so on, like that. If you don't, they're because it's subconsciously in you. Your subconscious runs your life. If you don't sort your subconscious out, then you don't. All these things are going to keep happening, and you're not going to know why. Sorry, that was my blat. Carry on, James or Nigel. Deadly silence.
Sorry,
James. James.
Yeah, that's a superb analogy. While you're saying that, I was thinking about Matt on Quantum of Conscience describes it as the degrading of humanity. I mean, if this is the repeat script again, we're made to feel small and insignificant, and thinking it in terms of the different stories or levels to a house, you can almost see the Tartaria thing and the sinking buildings. We're in the basement, and now we've been taken a stage.
You said something else, James. You know, like when you said the chakras, there's 7 chakras, but I think those are the dimensions in your body as well. So we're multi-dimensional in our bodies. We can only see 3D, but in our bodies we can eat, talk, kiss, walk. You can do it all at the same time. So we're multifaceted. We're they're different dimensions somehow. One's thoughts, one's moving, one's eating, different dimensions.
Yeah. Look at the word program when it comes to computers. PROGAM. We program a computer. Now look at a TV program. PROGRAMME. Program me. You've got that extra ME on the end of a TV program, as opposed to a computer program. Computer program, PROGRAM, and then when you look at a TV program, you've got the extra ME on the end. So, we know that television is tell a lie to your vision. And again, as James is so excellent, I love, sorry, James, I'm not blowing smoke up your backside, bro. But I love the way that you pull the English words apart. So you got program, which ends in M, and then you have a TV program which ends in a double ME. So you got program me, and that's what's happening. We.
Yeah, and do you know what that is? I'd like to add in here that I know it might not mean a lot of things to people, and people may not have even really thought or heard of this word, and some people have, some people haven't, but the majority of the people are narcissists programmed, whether it's from the television or whatever it is, they're programmed. They're programmed, and they're very narcissists. They're quite narcissistical. So that's what we're dealing with, and that's why people won't wake up. And those people will never work themselves out, and they don't care about you. So that bit's a bit bad. That's an external part of it, because you're waking up. But when you start waking up, you realise how many people are. Well, that's the word. That's the word I've learned this year. That everybody around me's like it. They don't. It's not really their fault, but because they've been programmed, or with the program with the ME on it. Those people don't even care about anything. They don't want to wake up. They don't care. It's not important what they're living on. It doesn't matter that we're not floating around space, but they think we are, and it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter what we're living on. Yeah, give me the Lyris thing. They don't care. Whereas when you wake up, you care. I don't know. I'm an empath. I don't know. Empaths are different, maybe.
A few hundred years ago, there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but his life basically revolved around Jesus. And Jesus spoke to him in his dreams. Jesus spoke to him when he was awake, and Jesus did that, and Jesus did this, and Jesus did everything else. And he went to see a shaman. And the shaman said to him, okay, I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to not think and to totally forget about Jesus for 3 days, 72 hours. So this guy went, okay. And after 72 hours, this guy was distraught, because Jesus was no longer coming into his life. Jesus no longer played a part in his life. And what this shaman had proven was that you are fixated on this deity. You are fixated on this entity called Jesus. And he's part of your life. He's part of your dreams. He's part of everything. But you've now gone 3 days without thinking about him, and where is he? Where is he? You know, oh shit, no, he's not here anymore. He's abandoned me. Oh really? Are you sure? You know, if people turned off their TVs and turned off their smartphones and turned off their iPads and turned off everything for 3 days, the whole virus would just go away, because nobody is dying. Nobody is suffering. It's all fake. It's all false. Turn off your TV, turn off your smartphone, turn off your iPad, turn off all your social media for 3 days, and it's gone. It does not exist anymore. It's gone. This is why they can't turn off the internet. This is why they can't give us the 10 days of darkness, because people will forget about the virus. You know, if it's not in your face, it's not happening. That's all it takes, 72 hours. And you can forget all the things
I thought we were talking about what comes from us. We've got to wake up. We're waking up. Where does this all link in?
Well, I think the whole thing's connected, Karen, because, you know, we are waking up, but people need to realize and need to understand that we are guided, we are manipulated by social media. With, you know, it's all Facebook and Twitter and
But that one you
WhatsApp.
can sort out quite simply. You just, for those that aren't going to do it, they're going to keep watching it, but you just turn it off. That's how you do it.
Yeah, well,
that
people
one.
can't turn it. Yeah, but babe, people can't turn it off. That's the problem. They
The only thing that's
can't.
going to
They
happen
won't.
with that is, unless they change the programs or somebody else comes in and takes over and tells us the truth, then all they're going to do is just be watching more and more lies and becoming more and more narcissistic.
Well, yeah, but essentially, people can't turn off the programming. They can't turn off the CNN. They can't turn off the WhatsApp, the Facebook. You know, if I get up in the morning and I see a picture of you on Facebook, and you go, hey, how are you? This is me. How do I know that's you? I haven't got a clue. It looks like you. Maybe it's you, but maybe it's not. So how do I know?
You don't want to be watching it because it's only cartoons you're watching. Most of the things on the news, they're not real. They've made them for us.
Yeah. So the only way that I can know that you are you is when I meet you in person and we shake hands and we cuddle and we kiss and, we are, okay, this is Karen, this is Nigel. But when we're looking at each other on a picture on Facebook or Twitter or any other social media, how do you know that what you're looking at is me, and how do I know what I'm looking at is you? And you've proven that so many times with the videos that you've been putting up lately, where there are so many different people that are representing somebody else. So if you send me a picture of you,
it's very confusing. It's very confusing for all those people because they've got no idea that this is happening to them.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's James's thoughts on it then?
Okay, this comes down to when does the spirit enter the physical body? I would suggest that it's the moment of the first breath. So I think the system is worked in such a way with childbirth to try and stop a lot of these physical vessels actually having spirits in them. So we could be actually facing a situation where nobody else is going to wake up, and we're the only ones, as it were. But don't be disheartened by that, because 1,000 people got together and they did a group meditation with the intent on focusing on a particular area of New York, and the crime rate went down by 25%. That's just from the power of the mind of 1,000 people. This whole system is designed to stop you finding out your true power. That's why there's, whatever you look at, it seems like, well, why would they? This is the question after comes out. Why would they be doing all this? And that really is the reason. It's
because they seem to want to keep us totally confused, don't they, James? We just lost Nigel, by the way, but he'll be back in a minute. I had problems at the beginning. I lost it 2 or 3 times. I had to come back on. But anyway, they just want to keep us in a state of confusion. I think that's the saddest part for the people, if only they realise that.
Well, most people, I think, at some point in their life will consider the question of, what is my purpose? So they're asking the question anyway, but then there's so many different.
Do you think, though, if you've got the spiritual side or you want to wake up, it comes to you, it's coming at you, and most of us want to know at that point?
Yeah.
Or you know things that you just know things.
Well, Neville Goddard interprets the Bible as being the everlasting play, and all the characters.
Oh, and James, do you know something else? James, I'm sorry to cut you off because I know I don't like that myself, but James, you've had the stories. I said I don't think people come back. When a medium talks, they always say they're in spirit world. Whoever they are, they're always on the other side.
Yeah.
And then you've got children who are like the other person, but they are still alive. They're born before the other one's died. I'm wondering whether some of this stuff that's in you anyway comes through your genes. It's all through your genes. It's got to be. Why am I an empath?
Well, you will have a genetic makeup for the physical body, which is the generations of man, as it were. But the spirit is something else. I mean, there's the whole topic of walk-ins, that you can, if you want to leave and don't want to go through the experience, there'll be another soul that will come in and then carry it on. The vessel has to follow this sort of predetermined path. I mean, if you think about it, what's being shown in the star forts, it's like fixing the stars in the sky to set places on Earth. Because IRS Media Channel has just done a recent video. It's no commentary, and it's only about 3 minutes long, and it shows all the star forts are roughly about 600 kilometers apart. So there's a grid system with that. There's a grid system with astrology. There's definitely a grid system.
Hang out with Nigel, did? Oh dear, sorry, a bit of reverb. Star forts actually were forts in the book. They were actually forts that were destroyed. They were destroyed on purpose, by an energy weapon. But a lot of people think that they're energy places, but they were not forts. But they look like they were. After all, they could have been. They were forts.
Could well be. I mean, there's no. We've got nothing really.
They obviously had some structure, didn't they? Because look at them; they're beautiful. Amsterdam's one.
Yeah, I've also noticed on a lot of them, there seems to be a straight line comes out of them, which I would suggest is heading towards the next one. They seem to have all been. They all seem to be the same design, all put down in one go, as it were. But that's all external. We haven't got the chronology to know whether they predate pyramids or. I mean, some of these castles, are they built on the melted foundations of something, or are they?
And they have mounds as well. But Maria Wheatley said, "Oh no, they're different kind of mounds. They're not pyramids." And I'm thinking, well, they look like the rest of them that are pyramids. So
yeah.
And why would they build? You know, I think they built around them because they're obviously some energy thing of something.
Well, I've suggested that
as well as you can stand on James, as well as you can stand on the top of them and look out far and yonder.
I've suggested partly looking at the practicality of it. When you see some of these towns and things today, you think, why would you build on the sides of hills and things when you've got a nice piece of flat ground, which would have been so much easier? What I've suggested is it's some sort of like arcing. You're bringing down cold from above and the heat from below the solid part of the earth, softening the ground, which causes the mud floods. And also,
you know what, those patterns of those star forts, they're in the corn circles at Avebury that appear in the fields that everybody comes and takes pictures of and all over the news.
Yeah, I was going to say was if this
a lot of them are anyway.
If there's a technology that can soften the ground sufficiently, you could sink whole cities in one go. But it would also probably explain why buildings are built in certain places. Probably the real reason why you have to have planning permission, because somewhere somebody knows the locations of previous structures to build on the existing foundations. Because, I mean, even in biblical passages, it talks about cornerstones and firm foundations and things. So we wouldn't want to build.
That's a good point, James. When you're talking about waking up, you have to have a firm foundation.
Well, it's quoted about the Great Pyramid as being something like 6 million to 7 million tons. Well, you wouldn't just build that anywhere. You would have to know the ground is going to take that weight if that is its true weight.
Nigel, your mic. I'm going to mute Nigel because all I can hear is the reverb off his microphone. It cuts James out.
I'm muted.
No, you weren't, because I can see it on the panel. You are now. So finish off, James, and then Nigel can say something.
Well, it's in a clue like the word firmament. I mean, firm, a solid foundation or a sound foundation, sound base. Frequency and energy is expressed in terms of sound, like the word of God. So it's just basically a firmament is saying of being of a firm mind. I mean, if you think about it, when you're going down this awakening path, as it were, you're playing the part of Jesus carrying the cross, and that most people out there are playing the part of the crowd that are jeering and throwing insults and telling you you're crazy. So there's a sort of an analogy in the stories with what it does, as Neville Goddard says it, the great play, it just keeps going and going and going, and we're all playing all these parts. These characters are basically eternal states. I mean, we talk about, oh, somebody's in an angry, they've got in an angry state, or oh, look at the state of you, you're all upset. They're all states of mind, which of course they then take to, as a nation, as United States, because they always twist these words to mean something else. But there's always a spiritual and a physical version of the same thing. It's just untwisting it and seeing what is being shown to us.
Thanks, James. Nigel?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that James has said. You know, I made a comment on your chat or your video earlier about a reaction or reactor. Everything is about action. You know, the world's a stage. Yeah, we know. The theatre of war. You know, the political stage. Everything is about acting. Everything. It's all BS. It's nothing like we think it is. Nothing. This whole existence is purely and simply about meeting people, about coming together with like-minded people, not like, you know, my brother, my sister-in-law sent me that horrible text.
Yeah, but you know what she was basically saying, Nigel, because I was going to tell you afterwards, because it's not very nice what she said, but she was basically just saying rack off, or I don't care.
Yeah.
But it depends how you put it.
Yeah.
Like, you might have put it in such a way that she just couldn't understand it, you know? Unfortunately, that's what it is, isn't it?
Well, essentially all I did was send an email and say, look, be careful of the VAX. And here's all the evidence. And then I get a response on a text message saying, well, you know, let me know when you're dead. Which...
No, but that's I'm telling you, what we're just talking about. Narcissists. And they don't care.
Yeah, but I'm kind of still trying to get over it. Tell your authorities, or sorry, give your authorities my contact details so they can let me know when you are deceased.
It's nasty. It's nasty, but that's what they don't care what they've said. She was only saying, I don't believe you. Or you're crazy. Anyway, you're a bit upset about that one.
Well, yeah, but whatever. What she was basically saying was, I don't really care about you. Just let me know when you're dead, and then I can pick up all your shit. I can pick up whatever you got left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, fucking hell. I'm sorry to go quiet, but I was literally blown away when my own brother and sister-in-law are basically saying, well, we don't really care about you, just let me know when you're dead, and then we can pick up whatever you got left.
Yeah, well, she was obviously quite annoyed at what you wrote, or she didn't like something, but that's what people are like, aren't they? Most of the people out there are like that. So
I
they don't know.
I never gave.
None of those people know who they are. They think they do because they're trained. Wait, I'm finished. I'm finished. They think they do because they're trained now, but they're trained through this system, which waking up means you unpick and take it off. You don't want it anymore.
Well, that's
what the community I'm in. That's what all these people, James, everyone else. That's what they're into because they've woken up. And then you realise, oh my God, the system. In fact, it's actually really quite horrible here. It really is. It can be beautiful. It is beautiful, but it's also not at the same time.
Well, I've never even spoken to my brother or sister-in-law about what happens when I die. Only my daughter and my daughter, me and my daughter are really...
though, is it, Nigel? That was just a real big dig at you. That was like, back
off.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to hear from you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that was about. But that's her problem, isn't it? Yeah. Not yours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. But when it comes to the serious, you know, if I woke up dead tomorrow, my daughter, who's, you know, the only person that talks to me, I've not left a will or, you know, any of that. But
nothing to do with that, though. It's not to do with that. You're taking it on about 50 million steps. Is that she's just having a go at you?
Yeah.
You must have, Nigel, whatever you put in the letter, you must have really upset her, because that's why she wrote what she did. But, James, what do you think, then? Mute your microphone.
Well, the more people you talk to, it seems to become apparent that we're just like one-offs. It's almost like we've been placed in all these families amongst those that just don't seem to have souls. The way I'd look at that...
They have a soul, they don't seem to have a spirit.
Sorry, yeah, they don't seem to have any spirit in them, but if their only source of information is a corporate one, they're coming from a complete place of fear. You've now given them something that, from their mindset, is totally wrong, totally crazy. The only thing you can do is just feel sorry for them, because I don't think they're even aware what they're saying. And they're saying this purely from being a physical being. Don't forget, you can't die. That's you can't be burnt. You can't be frozen or anything. You're a spirit. You're eternal. We are not the car. We're not the physical body. They're just the spirit carrier. So this world is all...
Can I say something then?
Yeah.
I just was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were saying how logical they were, and I was too emotional. And that's the really hard bit when we're talking, because we're talking logically, but actually we're humans with lots of feelings and emotions. So it's quite hard to sort of, we're trying to explain it logically. Do you understand what I mean?
It's all a big test on us. It's like you get presented people in your life, maybe work colleagues, and you think, oh, why did I have to get stuck with them? But the way to sort of, it's all about changing the state of mind. It's like that person has been sent for a reason, to teach me something that I'm not seeing it in the right way at this stage. The spiritual path is all about letting go, and your only real connection to what you consider to be family is the physical vessel, not the spirit. Because you could even say that is a lie. And if this reality is one of death, the so-called life giver, the sun, that brings the daylight and brings life, is not actually bringing life. You could argue that that's actually bringing death, keeping us in this reality of death.
Yeah. But look, let's just supposing that I get knocked over by a car tomorrow and I've got £5 in my pocket. Who do I give that £5 to? Who do I leave that £5 to? Do I leave it to Karen? Do I leave it to my daughter? Or do I leave it to no one and the government takes it? Because that's what they want to do. What my brother and my daughter, my sister-in-law have said to me tonight was, well, yeah, tell your authorities to give them my contact details so, you know, they can let me know when you are deceased. So
yeah, but
what
this
they
is
want...
about waking up, isn't it? You're talking about something horrible that's happened to you. But this hangout is about waking up.
Yeah, of course it's all about waking up. So, you know, when my brother and my sister-in-law sent me that message, let me know when you are deceased. Well, what do they want? They want the £5 that's in my pocket. Whereas maybe I want to give that £5 to you, or maybe I want to give that £5 to my daughter, or maybe I want to, give that £5 to James.
Nigel, what's your point? What's your point?
The point is, unless I actually write on a piece of paper who I want to give that £5 to...
Right, well, it's nothing to do with her, is it?
Well, who's going to get it?
One person who you're talking about is this whole thing you're talking about, but it's actually nothing to do with your sister-in-law. So don't worry about it.
No.
Listen, you don't
I
have
think
to
it's got everything.
Nigel, you don't have to worry about it. She's just sent a nasty message which has irked you, but you don't have to worry about it. It'll be gone in the morning. You're not responsible for other people's bad language and stuff.
Okay.
You don't have to, don't take it on board. That's what James would say to me. Don't take it on board. And right now you feel consumed by it, but don't worry about that one.
No, I'm not consumed by it. But let's just suppose that I died 5 hours ago in a car crash, and I've got £5 in my pocket.
Nigel.
Who's going to get the £5?
Whoever you decide, Nigel. Whoever you decide, not anybody else.
Yeah, but what if I hadn't decided at the time of my death?
That has to be the way it's going to be, and then probably the government will get it. But you don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about that right now, do you?
No, I don't. I'm just curious, that's all.
Well, no, you just don't like what she said.
Oh, it wasn't a case of not liking what she said. It was a case of being...
Yeah, but what it is these people who aren't awake, they make you almost go inside. You like, it just sets something off in you. Like, maybe James says endorphins, like, you're because it's like, oh my God, no, we're still at the beginning. You know, you might have known them years, tried to tell them things, and they still say the same things. Maybe the more you wake up, the more when they do it, they just look worse. They get worse and worse and uglier and uglier. Maybe if she said that to you 10 years ago, you'd have gone, ha, 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 ha. You wouldn't have liked it, but you'd have forgotten about it. It's just when you're woken up and we're talking about all this stuff and getting deeper into it, and they say that, you think, oh, you don't want anybody like that around you, do you? Well, I wouldn't.
Well,
and the thing is, you just know. I bet you James can come in. You just know these people are like that. You just know. They've only got to say a few words, and you know. Isn't that right, James?
Yeah, but Karen, it was just so horrible. It was so evil.
It is. But we all, my mum lied about me. My own mother. How much more nasty is that? My own mother betrayed me. And I didn't even know for about 25 years. I could never work things out while my parents were the way they were with me. I just couldn't work out why my dad was always angry with me. But the thing is, we've talked about all this now, and they're still the same. In fact, they're worse. Anyway, some people are dangerous to you, and you can't go anywhere near them. James, what's your thoughts on it?
The best thing is, well, there's a lot of people who struggle. I mean, what I'm going to do on the 21st of December, it wasn't my idea, but it seems a very good idea. I'm going to do a 3-day fast. I'm going to
put your microphone off, Nigel.
Yep.
It's still on. It just blanks out to James. It might not on the computer, but we're recording this for everybody, aren't we? So we want it good. You've got to mute yourself, Nigel.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, mute yourself. I'm not being horrible. Just mute yourself. Go on, James.
Sorry, you have to remind me.
Oh, I'm really sorry, James. Sorry. It's just that I don't know whether you can hear it. Can you hear Nigel's microphone when it's on?
Yes, it's like listening to long wave radio. It's like hissy sort of background.
So it's nothing personal to you, Nigel, but that's what happens. That's what we can hear. And then that goes on to the recording as well. It might not be as loud on the computer, but then everybody hears this hissing going on all the time. What were we talking about? Well, it's all about us waking up, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Well, Nigel had horrible words said to him.
Yeah, I think there are a lot that are devoid of spirit, and this spiritual path seems to be all about. Well, the easiest way I think to look at it is if you look at the atom being more than 99% wave and only 0.001%, I think it is, particle. That's the only solid part of it. So this is quantum potential. I mean, it's talked about 5th dimension, 7th dimension, right up to 12 dimensions, and can't even contemplate what possibilities there are. I mean, to my mind, this solid reality is a copy of something else that's had an overlay. It may be the opposition, all to do with us. Well, I'd say it's all to do with our spiritual growth. It's all about.
Do you mean that's because they're such peaceful people, James? Because I don't have this big thing that I want to go out and stab someone or go and shout at people. We're very peaceful in all this, don't you think? All of us, you, me, Nigel, we're all quite peaceful.
Yeah, even if you look at
that's the weird thing.
If you look at that story of Christmas 1914 and the First World War, they're doing all the things they tell you not to do. They're saying about these days with social media, don't give out personal information. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They're saying the people they were shooting at an hour ago, they're now showing photos and saying this is my parents or this is my children. Generally, people just want to get on, and ordinary people, it's the system that's imposed that is implying and putting these ideas, because I can't verify anything outside of my own environment. I don't know if there's a war going on in the Middle East, to be, if I'm really honest. I don't know of any of these things outside of what I can see. It's just gossip. I mean, news is classed as entertainment legally. People forget that. It's all about taking things personally, taking things to heart in this reality, and it's actually the opposite. We want to be letting go of it all. And I look at a lot of, well, I don't look at things these days, but it's like there's a plan to do this or plan to do that. I'm just thinking, yeah, and so what? I'm not going to let it worry me. It hasn't happened so far. And
I think with the television, James, they're determined to make it a horror movie and everything. Whoops, bit of reverb there. They're trying to make it into a horror movie. I mean, when you were younger and you watched Norman Bates, when you're younger, that like really frightens you. But you look at it now and you think, That's really lame. You know the story, it's not real. It's made 40, 50 years ago. At the time, people were frightened of it. So I think that's what they do. They just keep putting more and more horrible things in there. But people are becoming a bit blasé about some of it, aren't they? These people are dying in this country, donate. We just walk over these things. Okay, we can't give it because it won't go to them, because it will only go to the corporation that wants the money. But you become a bit blank to it all.
I'm going to say something.
Wait a minute. This man killed his wife. He's going to death row. Oh. That's what they've done to people, almost made people have no emotions.
Well, yeah, but how many people are aware that the phrase "fear not" appears in the New Testament 365 times? Let me repeat that. The phrase "fear not" appears in the New Testament 365 times. Google it. Go and check it. Don't take my word for it. Fear not appears in the Bible 365 times. Coincidence? Okay. If you want to believe it's a coincidence, then fine. But 365 times.
James?
Well, I think it's a perfect giveaway this year. It's a sort of well-known sort of biblical saying about fear no evil, though I walk through the valley of the shadows. And what was the first thing all the religious centres did this year? They were the first to lock the doors. And it's like, what happened to fear no evil? But apart from the odd sort of American preacher that sort of said, our congregation has the right to preach, but the majority just shut the doors. And it's like, well, what sort of message does that send out? So they don't practice what they preach.
Well, know that we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I shall fear no evil. Many, many years ago, back in 2017, I totally equated that to the dark night of the soul, which is when I was lying on the floor, curled up in the fetal position, crying my fucking eyes out once I realised that everything was a lie. The Mandela effect, the flat earth, everything was a lie. And I literally was lying on the floor, curled up in the fetal position, crying my eyes out. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That was what came into my mind, and that's exactly what it means. And that's why I'm saying that once you wake up, once you have the enlightenment that you understand the scriptures, but the scriptures have no meaning because you understand what they mean. It's kind of an oxymoron. The scriptures are there for people who are, or who become awakened to understand the scriptures. But once you understand what they mean nothing because you understand them.
Nigel, when you wake up, you realise you've got to find it in yourself. You can't find it in anything else. It's got to come from you, not a book. You can read the book, you can read loads of books, and you can have those and they can help you, and certain things they said, you can remember that, but it's got to come from you. That's why you don't need the Bible.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But the hardest thing for people to comprehend is that when they're asleep, when they're not awake, they look at the scriptures, they look at the even the diamonds. I mean, a lot of the scriptures, a lot of the biblical scriptures are dung. They're rubbish. They're laggy. They're crap. Um, but a lot of them are diamonds. But we don't understand the meaning until we awaken. And once we awaken, we understand what those diamonds are. But because we're awake, they have no meaning because we understand what they mean. It is so profound. It's so crazy.
Yeah, what it is I think when you wake up, you're you might be reading it and looking at those words, and then when you read it again, say, and you've woken up, then other words attract you. Other words in there are now more important than those ones. But can I just say one thing? We've been going for an hour and 25 minutes. I just think it's a good idea if Nigel, you go first, and then James, just round up. Right, so we've woken up now, and it's full of all these things. So what's your end bit for the hangout, Nigel?
Okay, my end bit of this hangout is look at biblical scriptures, understand what they mean, and then when you wake up, understand that they mean nothing because you already understand what they mean. It's so difficult to try and put into words, because before you wake up, they are just words. Once you wake up, you understand what they mean, and then you inherently know what they mean, so therefore they mean nothing because you know what they mean.
Thank you, Nigel. Nigel, I think what that's about, I tried to explain it earlier on, although we're going to go on to James in a second, but basically, you're logically talking about something, but actually it's feelings for you. How can you project that out when it's logically being told? No, you don't know the people we're talking to. They can't feel you and touch you. So it's logically done. We're logically trying to explain it to people verbally, but actually it's a feeling. There's a feeling in you. You know, like you're quite upset about what your sister-in-law says. It's a feeling. How do you explain that to people? You can only do it logically or, through words. They can't feel you. Well, they can feel for you and they think, oh, I don't like that. That's horrible. That's nasty. But, yeah. Anyway, we're going to go on to James. Well, go on and finish off then we're going on to James.
I was going to say you can't. I mean, like, I can explain that to you, and you can get the feeling, you can understand, and you can go, oh my God, that's horrible. Because you understand, because you're awakened.
Just got to be careful.
My sister-in-law.
I do it too. I let things that aren't important overrun my life, and the things that are really important sometimes you put on hold because maybe they're too big, but yet the little things annoy you and they're really big when actually they're unimportant. So, like, you should have laughed at because you know more and you're awake, you should have laughed at her answer.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I did. I laughed at her answer. And I thought, you are so pathetic, you are so stupid. And yeah, okay, if that's what you want to think, then fine, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I did laugh.
But anyway, this whole thing's about everybody waking up. So you've woken up. So what's your thing for everybody? And then on to James.
Just be aware. Just be aware of your surroundings. Just be aware of what is going on. Look at it from a different perspective. Look at it with new eyes, and see it for what it is. Because everything is not what we think it is. James?
No, it's the devil's playground, isn't it, James?
Well, that saying, keep it real. Well, what sort of real? Are we talking about real to real? Because everything that is external to us is the screen. It's not just the television. It's all about distracting you. You've got five senses, which sense the external, but you can express those five senses internally, how you feel about something, but it's not actual physical feeling. How you see something, how you hear, like song lyrics. There's an equivalent in a spiritual sense. it's coming to the point where you can be happy to be like for 3 days in total silence, denying the five senses, the external. From personal experience, by not watching any of the fear stuff, I feel so much better in myself. So physically, I feel a lot happier. I feel a lot calmer. So that alone will start changing your health and your mind. It is the best thing I would say to understand it is just type in Neville Goddard. There's plenty of channels, Brian Scott channel, or you can actually hear Neville Goddard in audio recordings from the 60s. He died in 72. But it's just see things as they are, sort of like, haha, I get the joke. It's a sick joke, not very funny. I'm not being triggered by it. And just focus on yourself. It is a fine line with you can interpret that and think, oh, that's very selfish, but it's not. Because if you can't get yourself right,
water off duck's back, you mean?
Sorry?
Water off duck's back, you mean?
Yeah. If someone says you're crazy, I mean, do you accept that and believe that, or do you think, well, that's just your opinion?
Do you know what? It's really hard because I don't like this when these things happen. I've had a couple of people do it on messages today to me, but actually, you just feel really sorry for them.
Yeah,
really sorry for you.
That's the best way, because often they're actually telling you more about themselves and what their state of mind. They're projecting their things.
Because that's the hard bit, isn't it? There's not, I know you're awake. I know Nigel's awake. I know Amy is, and Gillian, and there's many more that come in the chat room. But when on a day-to-day basis, you go out and then they say things and you think, oh, God, I just want to get out of here. Because it's just not in the world. You're not in the world you want to be in. So with all the MASKS ones,
I just ignore it. I'm oblivious. I couldn't even tell you if anybody was glaring or staring at me the other day. They're just I just see it as a theatre, and it's like, okay, I'm acting, but I'm not sticking to the script that has been given to me. I'm now writing my own, and it's like, well, I'm going to be true to myself. If it's all about words and actions, then how can I say to people, don't wear masks? And then I think, well, I better put one on. Then I'm not being true to myself. So it's like, no way, it's not happening. I'm being me. And like Nigel said, if someone says, why aren't you wearing one? I can just turn around and say, well, why are you wearing one? And then try it back at them. It's not giving in to the fear, not getting triggered, not getting angry. Yeah, it's tragic with families and things, but just feel pity for them because they can't see it from the way we see it.
That's right. Thank you, James. Do you think that's a good point to end on? Or do you got something more to say?
Well, no, I think that's it really. Just think of it like a game. Every time you get triggered by something, that's a point to the system. Every time you think, yeah, very funny, I see through that one, that's a point to you. Just treat it as a game. It's that saying about don't take life too seriously, because it will drag you down and try and suck you in at every opportunity. So you think
everybody's getting worse out there, James? Because I don't remember feeling like this about a lot of people. But when I look back, I think my parents are them, my family, my brother, half my children, most of my friends, most about there, go to the shop. Ooh, she's not wearing one. Stay away from her. So it's most of them, not all of them.
Oh, again, it's
Guess what? Guess what it is, James? The ones that aren't wearing MASKSs talk to you. Ones wearing can't, can they?
Yeah, this is true. Well, again, look at the sort of the mirror that's been shown to us. It's saying the whole system is from every angle is like restricting us and trying to force us downward and make us feel lesser and insignificant. And the spiritual answer is to grow and be greater than yourself spiritually. So the system is showing us what to do, but in their twisted way again.
Thank you, James. James, we are going to finish in a moment, but I think Nigel wants to have the last word, don't you, Nigel?
I have just received a message on my one of my group chats that says, and I quote, "The city enters wartime mode after 5 COVID cases are found in 2 days." Now,
Lyrus.
remember that
Lyrus. Keep it as the Lyrus.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, I told you things were going to move on, didn't I, Nigel? But we're on waking up. Hurry up, then.
Yeah. Okay. So, city enters wartime mode, capital letters, after 5 COVID cases are found in 2 days.
Lyrus.
It's talking about a city called Chengdu. Chengdu has got millions, like 13 million people. So they've got 5.
Yeah, well, I told you this, Nigel. Nigel, we'll talk about this on the after hangout, but I told you that, didn't I? You didn't believe me, but I told you. But anyway, we're going to finish this hangout now. I hope it's resonated a lot with people, that people have thought about a lot of what Nigel said, what James has said, what I've said. But we're going to finish the hangout now. Nigel, thank you so much for your input. James, thank you so much for yours. Mwah, James, mwah, Nigel, and mwah, chat room.
Thank you.
You want to say goodbye, boys?
Love you. Bye, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening in, and love you all, love to you all, and stay in high vibration. Don't let the system drag you down.
Yay. Thank you very much, boys. Bye from us.